Hello and welcome to Golden Exclusive, where we interact with prominent people in the society. Always my pleasure to be your host. I am Femi Johnson Ayodele. Today's conversation is taking place with another prominent figure in the society, one of the pioneers of guerrilla journalism in Africa. When it comes to investigative journalism, our guest today has received several accolades in our words. He is the co-founder of the news magazine and the former special advisor on political affairs to former President Muhammadu Buhari. Today, I have the pleasure of hosting Senator Babafemi Ojudu. Glad to have you join us for this special exclusive, Senator Babafemi Ojudu.
Thank you very much.
For me, it's a special one. Maybe I should let you know, giving me the first opportunity to practice as a journalist. And so meeting you for this special interview is a special one for me.
Thank
And I
you.
want to thank you very much, for that opportunity and also giving us the access to your palace to have this special interaction.
It's my pleasure,
All right.
and I'm glad that you have made good the opportunity, and made a career of journalism. And I'm proud that you've done well.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. If that is coming from you, I'm going to add that to my CV. All right, let's go to the conversation. Okay. You celebrated your birthday last week.
Yes.
You clocked 64.
Yes.
What will you consider to be your greatest achievement and legacy?
Well, my greatest achievement and legacy has been able to stand on my feet, able to stand on principle, able to define my character, and able to have affected my fellow human beings. Those for me are very, very important. I've refused to allow anyone to define for me who I should be and who I am. I've been able to define myself based on the legacy left by my grandparents and my parents, and that is that the legacy of honesty, of dependability, of friendship, of love, and of concern for fellow human beings. And those have defined me, and that for me has been what has given me joy and what I will for the rest of my life stand by, stand with, and live also for my children. That's a family thing. We do not have money. We are not wealthy. We don't give much room to acquisition of material wealth. But what we do in our family is to be known for principles, to be known to stand for the truth and for honesty, and service to the community.
Yeah. Now let's delve into your journey into journalism.
Right.
May I ask, what inspired interest in journalism and who? Maybe you can make reference to people who encouraged you to go into journalism.
I think, as I pointed out in my book, Adventures of a Guerrilla Journalist, I think there is something innate about me that wants me to probe. If I see a door that is locked, I want to know what's going on behind that locked door. If I see a wardrobe that is well protected, I want to know what are they hiding there. So, as a young boy, I think I was about between age of 5 and 6. I was, bundled from Madrid here to a farmstead where my maternal grandparents were farming to go and spend time with them on a holiday. And, it happened to be a time for the Oro Festival. And, for Oro Festival, children and women are not allowed to participate. Which comes in the night when there is this mysterious, frightening sound that you keep hearing. And with my grandparents, sleeping in the night, hearing that, I wanted to know what was it that is behind Oro. How did they make that sound? And I woke up my grandmother, and I said, Mama, I want to pee. She said, okay, wait for me. She went for a bowl for me to pee. I tried to drop as much as I could drop of my urine. I was still very curious. I said, it was better for me to go and urinate out. I said, no, urinate in that bowl. Then after some time again, I said, Mommy and Grandma, I want to poo. Okay. She brought that bowl again. I said, poo in that bowl. No, I said, I cannot poo in the bowl. I have to go out and poo. because I mean it was a farmstead. They don't have the modern system of relieving oneself of wastes. So he just at that point knew that I was up to a mischief, and then give me a little bit of a slap and said, "Look, Allah Kubani." So the following days, in the morning she packed me and sent me back to Ado to my parents, say, "Ma Kubani," that kind of thing. So when I look back, I look at that as a moment that defines my my nose for news, for wanting to know what is happening, for not being allowed to be told what is happening, or being prevented from being part of what is happening. So then when I got to secondary school, uh, I I I was a bit restless. I gave little or not much attention to studies. I was a bit rascally. I was the youngest person in my class in those days, and I would go on the blackboard, try to draw caricature of my classmates who are bigger than me, either because their mouth is big. I would show that in the caricature, or their hair is long or whatever it is. So their head is bigger, and they always pursue me to beat me or whatever it is. So one day I've done several of that and led to commotion in the class and all kind of things. So the principal sent for me. One chief, the GA Adejuwan, he's late now, and asked me to come over to his office. And I went there. He asked me to sit in his front, and I sat. In 30 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, the man was busy working on the files in front of me. Wow. At the end of that, he said I should leave and come back to the day after. Wow. What is it? What did you want to tell me? What have I done wrong? I didn't know. I couldn't sleep that night. I asked a few of my friends if they had an idea of why I was invited and why I was kept in the principal's office. Nobody could. So I kept awake all night thinking, will he expel me? Will he suspend me? What is the matter? So the following day, I woke up, dressed up, and reported at the time he asked me to come. And I got there, and the routine started again.
What
1 hour, 2 hours, he kept writing. Then after about 2 hours, he brought out a transistor radio from under his desk and put it on the table and said, "Young man, take this transistor radio. These are batteries. Every morning around 4 a.m., wake up, listen to VOA, Voice of America, listen to BBC, and then write down the news stories and then paste them on the school's notice board. Wake up 4 a.m. I thought that was a punishment, and I started and I began, like a show. I started doing that and then suddenly I fell in love with that. Suddenly my vocabulary kept increasing. My knowledge of foreign affairs kept increasing, and I became fascinated. So I then started reading voraciously daily newspaper at the school library. I started reading novels, reading anything that is written, or printed. And that was it. That was how I caught the bug of journalism. And then I moved them forward. I began, writing letters to the editor of Daily Sketch, Tribune at that time. And one day, my dad surfaced in school with a copy of Daily Sketch where my letter to the editor had been published. It was like I've hit gold. I showed it to everybody who cared to see it in my class, and I was so proud that I've had an achievement. And I began to follow national affairs, reading Kamisha Laushogu, reading Tola Adeniyi, who then had the subsequent Abbas Sahid in a Tribune, following Garifawemi in the papers, and several others, who were popular at that time. Oniororo, Niyo, and every other person like that. The major contributors in Nigeria papers, I began to read them, looking at their style. So when I finished my secondary schooling, my dad then, his ambition was for me to go and study law. I just smiled at him. He took me to one of the wealthiest men in Ado Ekiti then, Shivani Shulu, and we visited the man and said that my son says he wants to become a journalist. Baba said, I don't know anything about journalism. I only read papers. My children are studying law and medicine. And that kind of thing. So my dad left in frustration, you know. So until, yeah, well, of course, after that, I had to work for 1 or 2 years before I then went to the university and applied to study English. And I got to Ife. As soon as I got to Ife, I joined the Association of Campus Journalists. I became a reporter for Cobra. Cobra was the most famous campus media in those days. To the point that Abaya had to come out, when he was number 2 to Buhari, to do a press conference on Cobra. So
Interesting.
I worked with Cobra, and then after about 1 year plus in Cobra, I was dissatisfied again. And I said, okay, let me go and start something of my own. I called a few of my friends together, and we started a campus journal we call a Parrot. And that was, and right from university, I continued to write letters to the editor. I continued to write opinion pages. In fact, I wrote some copies for the Guardian. And whenever it is published, I will run from Ife to Lagos to go and collect my what they call it now, what they pay honorarium. They pay for the article 25 naira.
Wow.
That time I go all the way from Ife to collect 25 naira. But 25 naira
was something big
was
then.
something big then, and it supplemented my allowances from my parents. And that was it. Then I finished. I went to serve at the publication unit of the education faculty of University of Ibadan. I continued writing. I continued editing. As soon as I finished NYC, I got a job with the Guardian, and that was it.
Interesting. Now, you're one of the pioneers of guerrilla journalism in Africa. And in fact, you receive accolades, awards. You became renowned for that.
Yeah.
What inspired your interest in guerrilla journalism? I know in your book, in the adventures of guerrilla journalists, you reveal some of these things. But I would like you to talk about.
Well, we didn't set out to do guerrilla journalism. It wasn't as if we met somewhere and said, "Oh, let us do."
Was it pre-planned?
It was not pre-planned. We wanted to do journalism, the normal, regular journalism, report, investigate, write, publish, and all of that. That was it. But we wanted to do a journalism that was not going to be the one that praising, that massages ego. We wanted to do a journalism that ask questions. Why did you do this? When? For what reasons? Should you have done it that way? Shouldn't you have done it this way? We were questioning of the military authorities. We were even questioning their right to even seize power. So it got to a head in 1990. Let me just say, that took me around the entire country. Going to investigate things. Issues of corruption, riots and protests, even some Junkun war. And all of that. So 1990, we woke up one morning to the banner headline in the Daily Times, where Babangida had to say that it amazes him why Nigeria has not yet collapsed. And he was military president at that time. So we gathered that week to look at what we're going to publish next week in African Concord. We started looking for story ideas, and we pointed out, look, how can the president make this kind of statement? There must be something that we don't know. So we now decided to look at the entire government and its policies. So we look at policies on education, transportation, agriculture, the economy itself. We look at the issue of corruption. So we assigned all of these stories out. And my colleague there, Mr. Babafemi, was asked to anchor the whole thing. So we wrote the story. Everybody wrote his own section of it. That will give the story an overview. And we tagged it as IBB giving up. Had a big banner headline with a good photograph of Babangida in front of it. And we thought we had done our job for the week. And 2 days after the magazine came out, the military people stormed our office in Concord.
Were you expecting that?
We were not. We just thought this was a regular story. Yeah. We were just probing, the mind that could be atop of governance and who was expressing, amazement at the fact that the country has not collapsed. So we we didn't expect it at all. If there are stories that we talk and us trouble, that wasn't the story. We're not revealing anything that is not known to everybody. But I think because the way it was packaged, the language and the pungency of the thoughts that we put into it really got got at Babangida, and he then sent the soldiers to go and seal up the offices that contained not just African Concord, Weekend Concord, National Concord, Amana, Railway, whatever it's all of that, including one of the biggest bakeries at that time, Wonder Loaf, So they sealed the entire place up, and what occurred to me immediately after that was that, look, this is injustice. This is not fair. And I ran to Shigarva by Anthony Village, and I told Shigarva that, I wanted to challenge this, the government on this. And he looked at me and said, look, tell me, don't come and waste my time. You're a young man. You are employed by Abiola. If Abiola call you tomorrow to go and drop the case, that would have meant that I wasted my time. I said, look, Chief, I'm never going to listen to Abiola, even if he calls me. I want to go to court. He then called some of his legal aides and said, look, they come and be a witness. They came and he said, okay, go and prepare the case. We'll go to court tomorrow. So the following day, we went to court to challenge the shutdown. And everywhere was agog. All the major papers had it on their.
But what was your mind? Why did you have to sue the federal government for?
Because I believe that I, as an individual, I have the right to inform and be informed. That right is guaranteed, under the suspended Constitution of Nigeria. It's also guaranteed under the United Nations, laws, and that was how, and the ECOWAS laws. So it was also just to harass the military that you can't just, do things with impunity. You have not accused us of anything. We've not said anything that anybody could not say on the street. That was our way. That was why. And I went to court, and as soon as that was reported, Abiola summoned me to his house and lambasted me, abused the hell out of me. Most unlike him. He was very angry to the point of even saying, "Has your father ever owned a business or something like that?"
Oh my! I can imagine your reaction to that.
And he then walked me out of his house and left. My head unbowed, and awaiting the next thing that he was going to do. And then a few days after, he then wrote in his own longhand an apology letter to Babangida. Babangida leaked it to the Times. They put it on their front page again. He had thought that after that apology they were going to. I think they now told him that no, it is not you who want to apologize. It's those guys who wrote those stories. So he now sent for me and and Bayo Nanuga and said that, look, you guys are good writers, young men. Just go on for the sake of my business and go and just do one or two paragraphs apologizing and expressing regret at your action. I had a right smile that day. This man thinks we are fools, sir. So, okay, we said, thank you, sir. Okay, we went back to the office. I told Bayo and I went back that I'm not apologizing for anything. I'm going to resign. So, got to the office. I wrote my letter of resignation. Bayo also agreed to go to home. I went to drop it at his gate and then sent copies to all the media houses. Again, the following day, everywhere was agog.
Another breaking news.
Another breaking news that the guys, and of course, when our colleagues, Dapolo, Yomi, Sheyekende, Kunle Ajibade, heard about this, they all tendered their resignation letters.
So why did you think at that point resignation was the best thing, and then did you feel betrayed by your employer, MKO Abiola?
Well, I do not think it's a story of betrayal. Abiola was IBB's friend at that time.
So it was a clash of interest.
They were very close. And here is a businessman. He had to protect his business. He was a major contractor of the military, and of the government. So I could understand his apprehensions about, what I've done and, what the repercussion was going to be for his business, or businesses rather. So, I mean, I'm sympathetic towards him for that. So I wouldn't see it as a betrayal. But I saw it as, well, maybe this place can no longer contain me. Maybe,
Needed to move.
it's time to move. In fact, Bayo Ononuga concluded that he was going to leave Nigeria and go abroad, and to go and see what he could do abroad. And I felt with the kind of attitude that I've shown to the world, I do not see any media house employing me.
You said it in your book, and
Yes.
I remember you made reference to the fact that you thought that was the end
End
for.
of my career as a journalist. Yeah.
But
So,
what changed your mind?
yes. What changed my mind? Oh, by the way, let me mention that as at the time I also went to court, I was the chairman of the Nigerian Union of Journalists of that chapter. And I was popular for it because I brought a lot of innovations into that office. So you ask what changed my mind. A friend of mine, may God rest his soul, so Mr. Demo Adeleke, as soon as he heard about my ordeal, he came to the house. And said, Femi, I've read about what happened. I'm proud of you. This is the kind of thing we're taught in the university, the kind of reputation we're given. And he said, I know that you do not have money. He then brought out his checkbook and asked what my rent was for on a monthly basis. And I told him, he wrote a check to cover my rent for the next 6 months, which was, for me, a lifeline. And he then said, I should come and see him in the office the following day. I went to see him. He said, Femi, come and join my business. He was into importing frozen fish and distributing across the country. And so I went to see him and said, well, go and look for a cold room in Oyo State, in Ondo State and Ekiti State. I'll be giving you fish on credit. You can take to those places. So I thanked him. So, and I did that. I came to Ado Ekiti. I was able to pick up, but again, I quickly found out that was not my calling, because I was too trusting of people. The code room I rented in Akure developed problem when it was fully stocked with fish. There was no light, generator was not going to work, and that kind of thing. So I had to quickly sell off at a loss. So I now said, look, it's better for me not to even run code room. Let me talk to people who have code room. I can give attention to it, 24 hours of all of the time. And I met this guy. I went to see this guy. Got a fairly big courtroom. And entering there, I saw on his wall, Jesus saved, our Lord is your Savior. Give your life to Christ. So, I said, well, this is the best person to do business with. So I negotiated. I'll be bringing truckload of fish to you. You will sell, and then take your profit, put the cost in this bank account. I did that for the first time, a truckload at that time, which of course was a lot of money, and I left for Lagos. Second day, third day, nothing showed up in the account balance, and I kept calling. We kept saying, no, the money withdraw. So a week after I gave him the fish, I had to come back to Akure to say, come. He said, everybody bought on credit. I said, no, that's not the way we sell fish now. If people buy on credit, they buy the money on credit. The following day when they want to collect another, they pay for yesterday's own. So that was, that was how I kept harassing him until I got tired. My dad, who used to live in this town, there was very furious and agitated, and they decided to go and to take him to court. So my dad took him to court. My dad got a judgment and got the bailiffs to go and read his code room, only to find out that all the engine has been gone. It's only the carcass that was left. So he left that, as they say in Nigeria, to God. So I went back to Debo, and Debo just looked at me and laughed. Said, I knew that you were going to run to private. It's okay. It's good for you to. It's a baptism of fire. Babafemi, what you should do is that. Why don't you go and convince your colleagues to go back to what you are doing? And that is go and start a publication.